Folks, we got the cute little earbuds in now. Look at them. Looks great. Sounds great. Now we're having fun. And they cut your sticks almost in half right before
Yeah,
your first NHL game. That's
yeah.
absurd. But I guess hockey, the pranks used to be way worse than they are now, I think.
Oh, totally, totally. I think it's funny. So I say that because we were talking. I was at work last night, and guys were talking about the stuff that guys used to do back in the day, right? Um,
It's crazy compared to
and
like
yeah,
what people
yeah,
get in trouble for now.
for sure. Oh, for sure, for sure. I remember in junior one time with this goalie. His name was Curtis Darling, and great guy, and he was a bit of a prankster. And geez, this is going back almost what 20 something years ago. And he I remember him telling me a story that I think he was playing in Portland at the time, and he had played a prank on somebody. So somebody went to the grocery store, got it an uncooked salmon or a trout in a bag from the not the deli but the fresh fish
Yeah. Oh
counter,
yeah. Yeah.
and put it underneath in his trunk underneath where the spare tire goes, and left it there.
Just left it there.
Left it there. So he had no idea they had no idea.
And his whole car would have reeked.
Forever, right?
Forever.
Yeah.
Forever.
I'm pretty sure it was Curtis Darling, but yeah, man, that was, I don't know, just stuff guys used to do, right? It used to be fun. And it's true, you used to get out after practice, and I had a tiny little car in junior, and it was on like these four blocks, right?
Yeah.
It was a Chevy Sprint. I just drove it right off, and off I went. Yeah.
Oh,
You could get away with a lot more back then.
you definitely could. I remember like my junior rookie party, like there were some things that went on that was like, man, it's just not allowed no more.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
But like everyone was having fun and we were all doing it at the time, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So anywho, I get into how we know each other, right? So that first NHL game would have been really cool. I can't imagine. Obviously I never even got to come close to that, but that's really cool. You did that and lived out your dream, but we'll get into that shit later.
Mm-hmm.
More important things. I had you on the shed before with Clan Fellas. And
Mm-hmm.
do you know the power of Twitter? After that chat, nobody's ever watched my YouTube channel or like the videos. Hardly anybody subscribes or watches, and it's like I don't really promote it. Fitzy put out a tweet with a link to our chat, and
No way.
that episode is by far and away the most listened to ever episode on YouTube. It was almost up to
Cool.
800 views just from Fitzy's tweet.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, Fitz. Yeah, Fitzy's a good guy. It would have been good to have him on too.
Well, and I didn't know how to contact him, but then I was in contact with him about trying to get him on, but he just wants a clan chat. He said, let me know if you're having the clan guys on again. He said,
Oh, cool.
so that tweet was basically like he had never been part of such a great group in pro hockey, or like
Oh, cool.
a group like that in pro hockey is very rare.
Yeah.
And it was, and that's why I wanted to have you guys on, because I remember
Yeah.
seeing you guys outside the room in
Yeah.
Glasgow when we played you. And I was like, wow, they're like a team. And that's the shit I'm into. So
For sure. Yeah, no, and that's how it was, especially that first year I was there when it was Fitzy and Frankie Salts
and Saltsy, yeah.
Salts.
Mizey.
Scott Arson was a huge part of that.
I just reached out to him. I was going to try and lure him in next.
Yeah, you'll get some stories out of him. He's a good guy. Really, really good guy. One of the better guys.
He was a good player too.
He was a good player, really good player. I keep seeing these things on Instagram, these like London Knights, the top London Knights of all time, and I just text him there and I says, "You're getting robbed," because he's got to be up there with one of the best, right?
Oh, I don't know much about the OHL, but like when I played against him in the UK, I thought like I was a fan.
Yeah, exactly. And he's very just goes about his business. He's steady Eddie, right? Like he was good, and he that first year, well, he was always on the first power play, but he worked really well as like Scott Pitt, Neil Trim, those guys, and they just needed they needed RC back there, right? Because he was just that good for them. Yeah, he's a good dude.
Well, hopefully I can lure him in.
Yeah.
Okay, But yeah, you guys were a good team, and sucks you guys didn't end up pulling out. But it's such a strange league, right? That you're playing for a regular season championship.
Yeah. And it takes guys, and I'm sure you're the same way. It takes guys a long time to figure it out, right? Like you're playing games in November.
That was your first year in the league too, right?
Yeah. And you're like, okay, well, it's who cares? Right.
There were games I didn't even know when I first got there. People were like, well, this is a Challenge Cup game or this is a league game. I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Right. Yeah. Right. And it's like, well, it doesn't, to me, it doesn't make much sense, but I guess they're kind of following the soccer model,
I think, and they're trying to be different, right? They're doing it different.
Yeah. And that's totally fine. I think that, obviously there is a lot of stock in being the league champion, which is a good thing. It means you've gone all season, and it is kind of like soccer, right? So it is good.
Well, and those last 2 months, man, like when we were in that battle with Sheffield that year, like those last month or two, like were grind, man. Every game's game 7.
Yeah, no, it was fun. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, it was good until it wasn't good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, moving on. Where and what are you doing now?
I'm in Langley, British Columbia. It's about half an hour outside of Vancouver.
Langley.
Live with my wife, obviously, and we have a six-year-old daughter, 2 dogs.
2 dogs. What kind of dogs are we
2
working
dogs?
with?
We have a yellow lab.
Me too.
And then a Pomeranian Yorkie Maltese cross, who's just a little thing. She's been around a long time, Charlie.
Okay.
So so we do that, and then we get that, and then we I'm a firefighter in next town over, which is Surrey.
So are you one of those guys that works 7 days a month?
No, we don't have that schedule here. So
what do you guys do?
We do 2 days, then 2 nights, then 4 days off. So, but they're talking about possibly switching to 24. So you would do 24 on, 48 off, 24 on, and then 96 hours off, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's would be better, right?
It would, but it's a great schedule we have now.
How busy are you guys out there?
It's busy. Yeah, Surrey's busy. Obviously it depends which hall you're at. They have like different, they call it like different metabolism halls. So like low, medium, and high. My home hall is fairly busy, but it's a medium one. But I kind of, just because I'm a new driver, like I'm driving now, so I kind of bounce around quite a bit.
How do you get into the driving part of it? Why are you the driver?
Just but with time, when it's your time. So after I don't know, it's probably after.
So you'll drive for a bit and then you'll get off the wheel?
No, you'll drive. Once you're a driver, you're a driver. But you will take, once you're at a certain hall, like once you're at your own hall, then you'll drive, but you'll take turns with everybody else at the hall, right? So if it's a one-piece hall, like a one-truck hall, then you'll have a captain, you'll have 3 firefighters, and those 3 firefighters will take turns driving each set, kind of thing, right? But because I'm junior on my shift, then I just will bounce around and fill spots when there's vacancies, when guys need,
so you gotta take all the shifts or whatever right now.
Yeah, well, no, my shifts never change. I'm always going to work no matter what, but they'll move me around to drive. Basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're a driver now, eh?
Yeah. 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 No, it's good.
So you're liking it then?
Oh, I love it. Yeah, no, it's I feel very fortunate that I was able to do it.
And so were you one of those guys that went down to Texas and did that Texas course and got
I did. Yeah. I did it when I was actually playing in Glasgow. The first year I did the online course, and then when I came home in the summer, I went down to Texas, and then
I'd always hear about the guys, right, going down to Texas to do the 3-month course, and then it was So how long did it take you to get hired then?
When I was done playing hockey, I think I worked for about a year and a half.
Doing what?
I was delivering beer for a beer company here.
Driving.
Yeah, it was great. It was.
That's
awesome.
how you
it's
become the driver.
Yeah, no, it's a good job, and I actually still I go back there now from time to time. So I'm going to work there again tomorrow. But yeah, so that's what I did in the meantime, and they were really good to me. They were it's a good company to work for. They were awesome with giving me the days off I needed to go to
So the
interviews.
transition out of it when you're trying to become a firefighter and you're delivering beers, like you were just, I'm good, I'm fine.
Yeah, well, I knew, I often thought about like maybe trying to get into coaching or doing development coaching. Like, as you know, there's a ton of people doing it, and I do some of it. But with a young family, it wasn't something I could rely on.
Yeah.
Right. I felt like I needed a job that had health benefits, had all that kind of thing, so that a stable income kind of thing. Right?
Well, there's a lot of guys that go down to that course in Texas, right? But never actually get the gig, right?
Yeah. Well, when you think about it, there's anywhere from like for each department that opens up, and I know it's the same in Ontario. There could be 500 to 1,000 people applying for 20 positions, 15 positions, right?
Yeah.
So it's not easy. It's not easy to get in. So I do feel very fortunate that I did get in.
And was this in the area? Like, are you from Edmonton or are you from?
No, I was born in Edmonton, but I moved out here when I was 4.
Right. So you grew up around there, so people know who you are around there.
No, just my friends, not like.
No, but I mean like the type of person you are, that you're like a character guy.
Well, yeah, hopefully, yeah.
Well, because like one of my best buddies from my hometown, when he was done playing hockey, like he got a job at the fire department like that because he was a great teammate, a hard worker. Everybody in town knew how good of a person he was and how hard of a worker he was. Right. And then people talk, and then he gets on the fire department as soon as he wants to be on, right? Yeah. And I don't know if you knew this, but Joe Dunbar from Portland, Maine.
Yeah.
He said you're an asshole. No, he actually said you're the most down to earth. Whatever. Oh, cool. I don't know. He pumped your tires a bit. Good. I'm not gonna say it, but yeah. So
Joe's a good guy. A really good guy. So
it's cool when we come out to the shed and like someone writes to me like that I've never met and don't know. Yeah. And he writes that to me, and then it's like I can tell what type of guy you were. And then when you're the captain of Glasgow and I wanted you in my shed, and then a guy from Maine writes to me and he confirms what I thought.
Yeah.
And that's how you get on the fire department right away, folks, just so you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't just go to Texas and do the course. You have to actually do the shit beforehand.
Yeah. No, it's competitive. There's a lot of people that want to do it. And I was surprised when I got hired that I got hired to the class of 20, and you go around, and whoever the training officer is that day, you go and you introduce yourself, and you stand up one by one and introduce yourself, and they want to know where you're from, what you did before you got on, and your family or whatever the questions were. And you'd be surprised at the amount of, in my class of 20, we had like scientists, we had garbage truck drivers, we had kinesiologists, we had a couple of people were athletes, we had and it's just like such a wide variety. But when you think about it, like that's how you build a team too, right? Like you need
a bit of everything, right? On a hockey team. Yeah, you need the goal scorer, you need the grinder, you need the stay-at-home D-man, you need the offensive D-man, you need everybody.
Exactly. And that's why, it's intimidating going through the processes and trying to get hired and trying to do these interviews and stuff. But you have to, be confident with what you've done in your life and
Okay. Keep your hands away from whatever you're playing with down there.
Oh, okay? Shit. Sorry.
Yeah. You stop that. But yeah, no, you're right though. And you have to be confident in what you've done. And sometimes you gotta be proud of what you've done. And like, you're a good teammate, you're a captain of a pro hockey team in Glasgow, right? Like that's, when a team with that many dandies is calling you the captain, that's pretty cool. Okay. So being on a fire department, then do they make you still play hockey?
We have a team. Yeah, we have a team. We play in a couple tournaments. It's been tough just because of COVID, right? So
Yeah.
this year we had our tournament. So we had we host a tournament for like to raise awareness for mental health. And then we played at Vancouver has a big tournament that we played in. So I played in both those, and yeah, we had a good team. We had there's a couple other guys on the department that played. Well, a few guys that played professionally, and they always come out. And
so there are
good.
some players. Yeah. So do you still like lacing them up?
I like doing those kinds of things.
Okay.
I'm not typically like I don't really enjoy going out and playing beer league, and it's just not that
I don't either anymore.
Yeah, it's not, and I don't know what it is, and I think this year I kind of realized it more. A couple of times I've been asked to go out, and one of my best friends, he always asked me to go play with his team, and they're like a super competitive team, and I always just say no. I don't want to. I don't want to go out and take it serious. I know they do, and but I played a couple of games with the team this year, and it was super. Like, guys, just go out there, have fun. But I just didn't enjoy it like I thought I would, and
no,
you don't want to. You want to be the guy that commits to say he can do something, and then all of a sudden you can't show up, right?
Well, it's not even that though. I found that like then if I don't know, you try hard, the other team gets mad. If you don't try hard, your team's like, what are you doing? And it's like,
Yeah.
I only came here to like cruise around, you know, and like have a beer after.
Exactly. Well, and that's it, right? It's a good opportunity to see guys and have a beer and stuff.
And that's
like
what
that.
it's all about, right? It's,
for sure. Yeah, totally.
But it gets competitive. You get teams and jerseys, shit gets real.
Totally. Yeah. No,
okay.
Of course.
So how did you know when to hang them up then? Because obviously you didn't have the gig as a fireman. How did you know it was time to be done?
We kind of knew. I think when I signed in Glasgow, I was talking to Gareth and Finner. This is back 2014, and at that point, I was just looking for maybe a little bit of security. I'd always kind of bounced around. There was 1-year contracts here and there, and they said at the time, talking to them, like I knew, because I talked to Finner a little bit when he was in Sheffield, and a couple years before, and then
Finner was the coach in Sheffield.
He was, I think so, yeah. He coached in Sheffield. And then he played in Sheffield, and he coached in Sheffield. Oh. Played in Cardiff, right? Yeah, you should look him up. Have you ever had him on or no?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I don't remember him coaching in Sheffield though, but maybe the research team doesn't know.
Yeah, and then he went to Glasgow, and so anyways,
Finner's almost in the top 5 of like most listened to. He's right there. He's knocking on the doorstep.
Yeah, he's got some stories for sure.
Oh yeah,
and
he's a coach I would want to play for. If like
you would,
yeah, I would enjoy my time playing for him. I think, and I think I would play well for him.
Yeah, you would, and we had some good guys. And Finner, all he cared about was that he had his thing, and I'm sure he's the same way right now. He practices the same way every day. He coaches the same way. And he treats the guys the same way, and that's really all that matters, right? And guys want to play for him. And he was really good to me. He was good to my wife, and we liked it.
So how did you end up? Sorry, not to like get rambling here, but like how what was the connection to Glasgow? How do you end up there?
So all my family's from Scotland.
I saw that you had the research team saw the Scottish passport flag thing there.
Yeah. So my dad was born in Glasgow. My mom was born in Fife. All my family lives in Fife. Really? And I'd always said to myself, at the end of my career, I want to go play in Scotland or probably, like more so Fife, because I didn't know anything about it, right? And then I
what are we talking family here? Like aunts and uncles?
Yeah, aunts and uncles. Yeah, all my grandparents, they were there still. They've passed away. But aunts and uncles, cousins, everybody.
So just your parents came over to Canada.
Yeah, my parents moved to Canada. Yeah, and so, but everybody else is still in Scotland, right?
You ever asked them why? Why did they go to Canada?
for work. Yeah, they just needed it. I think my dad had some opportunities for work, and 41 years ago, and he was a machinist, and there were some working opportunities here, and so they originally moved to Winnipeg, and then Edmonton, and Thunder Bay, and then out to Vancouver.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's interesting how it all works out,
for sure. Yeah, for sure. And yeah, yeah. Like, get back to, like, I always said, okay, I want to go try and play in Scotland when I'm done. I think it'd be fun. And
So did you reach out to them?
I think Gareth, because Gareth, he's an agent as well, right?
Oh, is he? I
And
didn't know
what
that.
happened? Something happened, and
The
I
guy
asked
that
Gareth,
runs the team's an agent
yeah,
of who? What?
yeah, he works with an agency. Yeah, I don't know the whole story, but he had messaged
That
me.
sounds filthy.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
sorry.
he doesn't. None of the guys on the team are his guys. It's not like,
Right.
but
But
anyways,
he's running that team. So, okay. Sorry. I'm getting
but
whatever. Yeah.
he had messaged. We had messaged about something, and then I'd asked him a question about the UK with my passport or something, and then it just turned into, started talking with Finner, and it's like, okay, I was ready to kind of, I wanted to kind of come, and that was it. And they knew that there was a couple other teams that I was talking to, and yeah, it turned out it was a good situation.
So when you scored 62 points or whatever that year in 50 games, I think we probably would have been right near each other in scoring that year. Then would you not have been able to be on Team GB?
So the way it worked was you have to play 2 years. And this is well, it's not a funny story, but you have to play 2 years in the UK
Before you can
to
be
play for the team. Okay. And so they had asked me, I can't remember who the coach was.
Pete
Had
Russell.
asked me, no, it wasn't even him. It was somebody before him. Had asked, I think, he had asked me if I would play the next year. So when I was, so that would have been after my second year, like whatever it was. And I said, yes. I said, I'd think about it. And then I was like, okay. So the whole season, Gareth, I'd kind of talked to Gareth a little bit, and my wife had just had our daughter in December, and we had our flights to go home in April, and they were asking, they called and said, can you play? But what it would mean was that you would stay 3 weeks longer than our season in Scotland. Chelsea and Lola would come home, and then I would be waiting over there. Then I'd play in the World Championships or whatever it was, and then I would, right? And so Ben Davies was on our team that year, and a British guy, obviously, as you know.
Yeah.
And I remember I was talking to him one morning at practice, and we were talking about something, and he didn't get invited. He was a national team player, but for that particular whatever particular tournament it was, he didn't get invited to go.
Yeah.
And he wasn't saying anything like negative towards the program. He wasn't saying anything bad, but he had mentioned to me, he's like, there's certain guys who play who have a passport that play, but they only do it for 1 year, and then they just leave, and they don't,
and they're not invested in the program. Exactly. And the team.
And so as soon as he said that, I was thinking to myself, and I'm like, I'm Canadian. I have a British passport because my parents are British. So I am British. I do take a lot of pride in that, but it doesn't mean the same to me to play for Britain as it does for Ben Davies to play for Britain. So am I taking somebody else's spot by and I would have been.
Definitely are.
and it would have been just for the one season. And so that's kind of why I never ended up doing it. And I talked to Gareth, and I think Gareth called them and said, yeah, he's not going to do it.
And that's why Joe Dunbar thinks you're such a piece of shit.
Yeah.
In Portland,
Joe.
Maine.
Yeah. Oh,
Right.
Joe. Yeah.
But no, like no, that's a stand-up thing to do. And then, you know, some young Brit that did get his chance that year.
Well, look at them now. Now they've like made
They're
it to the top thing. So it's like they didn't.
and it's
Yeah,
with
like,
all Brits, right? There's
yeah, they
there's
didn't.
like
Yeah,
no guys that just with passports, right?
exactly. They didn't need. They didn't need me. So good for them.
And the ones that are there, like they return, right? When they
Exactly.
can.
Yeah.
So
No, and yeah, I agree.
no, that's pretty cool. You did that. So
Yeah.
yeah, sounds like you're a real asshole. Okay. So what else do I got then? Was the time you're in Glasgow then? How'd you become the captain? See, this is how I'm doing it now. I'm starting it like backwards. We're doing it
Yeah.
like, you know, I'm flipping it
Yeah.
around. We're
Yeah.
starting at
No,
the end.
I think, you know, there's kind of a little bit like
Is it
when I
not
was-
cool you became a captain of like
it was
a
yeah.
team in Europe that like you can say like I was the captain of that
You know,
team?
I took a lot of pride in it, and the reason it meant a lot to me was because like we had such a good group of guys, right? And we had
Like
you know,
like
and,
I
and,
like I said, when you get a
yeah,
collection of
yeah,
dandies like that and they say
yeah,
this is Captain Dandy, you're like,
yeah,
wow.
yeah. No, and it was like you know, you get a guy like Stefan Meyer, for example, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
And he was, so when I signed there,
He could be the captain of the ship. Yep.
Finner, when I signed there, Finner was like, "Hey, we're trying to get Mizey." Well, I played with Mizey here in Abbotsford, right?
Research
And
team found that. Yeah.
and so at the end of the season, Mizey was living in an apartment, and then he's like, smart farmer Saskatchewan guy. He's looking at the calendar and he's like, "Man, we're not making the playoffs, and if I stay in this apartment, I got to pay a full month's rent. Why don't I just ask Keith there if I can come move in and live at his house?" So him and his now wife moved in with us for a month so Mizey could save some money on rent.
Nice.
And but anyways, you know, like we had a good group of guys there, right? And
yeah, you did.
And Finner was good, and kind of right away, Finner had said, you know, like you'd be, you know, part of the leadership group, and we're building something good here. And I think they had a really good year the year before. And then, yeah, when I got there, it was just kind of, you know, we played a couple exhibition games, and
It happened right away.
yeah, and you know, and it did mean a lot to me, I think, because my parents are from there, and I wanted to be there, and not everybody else wanted to be there too, but I really wanted to be there, and I didn't want to just, I knew it wasn't just for 1 year kind of thing.
Well,
right?
and like the thing is like there's some guys with resumes like yours that like they go there, but like they don't totally want to be there. They think they should
Yeah.
be somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
And when
Yeah.
they go on the ice, they kind of play that way. They play like they should be somewhere else, and you're like, well, guess what? You're not even doing that well here. So
Right.
maybe you should really focus on what you're doing.
And you know, and it's funny you say that, because I think the next year, we had a good group of guys too, but they went and signed some guys with some bigger, you know, they
resumes, you could say.
didn't bring certain guys back, and they brought other guys in because they had bigger resumes. Well, these guys, they were good players, but you know, part of the problem is they got there and they expected that things would be how they were other places in Europe, and we did not get treated poorly at all in Glasgow.
Right.
But people thought that, oh, like, well, maybe they should be doing everything for me. I should move into a house that's completely ready. There's, you know, and that's just not the way it is there. You figure it out. You're a big boy. Figure it out.
Right.
Right.
And that's, yeah. And it takes the special people that don't whine about shit, that make the best out of every situation. Like
for sure.
The guys in Cardiff, I always talk about them. Like Carl Hudson lived with no hot water for like weeks because he didn't want to complain. And it's like, that's a guy that like, he just wants to be there, and he just wants to have fun.
For sure.
Play hockey.
And the thing is too, that's a good league. Like, it's a really good league.
It was better than I thought it was going to be.
Totally. For me, it was like, you know, there's good players, but the whole, like, the fans, the the way everybody like people care about it, right? And it's like, but the best part
The
is that
passion. I believe it's called
guys,
passion.
yeah,
There's
it is.
passion.
And guys care so much, but you can still sit in the dressing room after a game and have a beer.
Yeah. Well, and like,
right?
so I saw what you
Except
all,
if you play in Cardiff
we're
for
doing the
Underwood.
backwards episode here where we're talking
Yeah.
about your Glasgow time first, but like you played in Salzburg before that, which would have been as high stress of a situation in Europe as you can get, especially if a team's not doing well. I don't know how your
Mhm.
team did, but like
Mhm.
Salzburg, if you're an import and you're like, it's high stress, is it not?
Yeah.
And then you
Oh,
get to Glasgow and you're the captain, everybody loves you. And like, I don't know, it must have brought fun back to the game.
It was good. No, and it was good. And I didn't have a great year when I was in Salzburg, but I remember like it's a beautiful place to live. The team is owned by Red Bull. The money they put into it is like it's insane.
Well, that's why there's so much pressure. I always hear about the pressure.
Yeah.
Like they're
Yeah.
paying guys more than the
Yeah.
other teams in the league, so they should.
Oh yeah, for sure. And but at the same time, you know, the year I was there, we had a fucking awesome coach. We lost in the finals. It was Don Jackson.
Okay.
So he had come because he won six championships in Berlin in 7 years. And then he came to Salzburg, and now he's in Munich. I think he's still in Munich for Red Bull Munich. But yeah.
So when you're doing good there, then it's fine. I didn't know how your team did.
Great.
I'm just saying in Salzburg, like there's always pressure, but if you're playing good, then it's fine.
But it's the same, yeah. It's the same all over Europe. If you're an import, right? They bring you in, you know, Sweden, Czech. I got fired in Czech. It's like if you're not performing, if you're not what they think you're going to be, there's only so many spots.
Oh yeah, it's.
And if you're not doing what they want, then you're gone, right? And
no, it is.
So different. Yeah, you're right. You're totally right. Like you know, it's a little bit different, but at the same time, they got rid of guys in Glasgow too. They still.
No, you're right. And like, and
there,
and there's that rule in the UK where they talk about it's like 2-week rule, and like you could just be fired in 2 weeks. You just don't play good. You get fired in 2 weeks. It's like no other league in Europe is saying you only get 2 weeks. You know, like
I know.
So you guys might want to figure that one out.
Yeah.
You know, because the players don't like that when they're moving their whole family or they're going over there overseas, and you're telling them they can get fired, and you can give them notice, and 2 weeks later they're out of a job. Like, maybe we should.
I know. Yeah. And I that was a big thing with me when I went there. I made sure that wasn't the case when I was going.
And I was having
with my
school,
contract,
right? And I was like, okay, so
is my school guaranteed, right? Like,
yeah.
Sure.
And then but you do have to be what they asked for too, right? Like you gotta do what's expected, I think.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
When I first went to Cardiff, the first couple months, I wasn't playing good enough, and I felt bad. I was like, I'm not what was expected, and I
right.
You know, pride gets in the way, and then then I turned it around. But it was a tough start, right? When they're giving you school and you're not playing well. Okay. Back on normal terms here. So you're not from Edmonton. You were born there, moved out Wester when you're 4. So then what's minor hockey like? Is it big, like, is it AAA? What are you doing?
No, I played.
How'd you get into hockey?
My older brothers played, and I always wanted to play. We were living in Thunder Bay, and I remember.
Would you have two brothers?
2 older brothers, yeah, and they played, and I just knew I wanted to play, and that was it. We lived in a small town, the next town over the other way, which is Aldergrove, and it was great. Yeah, growing up, it was like a super small association. We had, a couple times we had some good teams where we got to play some of the bigger cities, but it was an awesome place to play. It was awesome.
So you're in a small town where like your team's your team, and like you kind of grow up together type thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's what we're going through. And I can't wait for next weekend now. Like, I think, I think my team learned a lot. Like the team we lost to tonight, the start of the season, we played them. They were up 3-0 within 6 minutes. And you know when like kids are toying with you
Yeah.
and like they're going in on a breakaway and they like try to pass it back door to a guy and you're like, don't do that. We're not that team. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Put it in the
Yeah.
net if you can.
Yeah.
But tonight we were right there. I think
Mhm.
we are ready to do this,
Good.
you know?
That's awesome. Yep.
But
Perfect.
it's being a family. It's
Mhm.
being a small town, you know.
No, it's true. It's true. And it's like, I think about it all the time. Like growing up, that's, a big part of your childhood is your memories, right? Is like, I could tell you every guy that was on my minor hockey teams.
Well, and then you get like, when I'm in it now with like my son, and like if you go to a tournament in the city, the parents hang out in the lobby a little differently than like the small town folks that show up and like
Yeah.
pull the tailgate down and like crack a beer, right? And you're like,
Yeah.
hey, there's my team. I'll be in
Yeah.
with the kids. You guys have fun.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's awesome.
Shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, so how do you get from there to the Banff Icemen? Did you play a game for the Banff Icemen?
How did it work?
The research team said you were on the Banff Icemen, but I don't think I can confirm you played a game.
I did, yeah. No, the way it worked, I went to a junior hockey showcase, like we all did when we were younger. I would have been 14 years old, and the Banff Hockey Academy had a kiosk set up, and I think my mom had walked past and had kind of looked at it, and because it was an Alder Grove, it was a small association, and
you better watch your hand by your neck there.
Oh,
keep
sorry.
those fingers away from there.
Yeah. And so she started chatting to Bill Doherty, who runs at the time ran the academy, and
so you went to an academy.
Yeah, so it's kind of like the thing was with me is I couldn't move to an association because in BC at the time you weren't allowed to like
just
Abbotsford and Langley were the two AAA associations on either side of the city I grew up in. But I couldn't just go and play there because I didn't live in their zone.
So you couldn't go to AAA even if you wanted to?
No, you can't do it unless you get a fake address. Right?
So what were you playing? Single A?
Like double A, like just
okay,
just normal,
off.
like well, pretty far off because we get spanked by them anyways.
Right.
And so so my mom had kind of stopped. I was like, oh, and then they came, or she started chatting to him, and then for whatever reason they were chatting. He's well, we can talk about having Matt come to Banff. But Banff was it was a hockey academy, but it was like I was on the ice every day. But the guys on my team, we had like our first line was like guys like really good players. Second line was decent players.
There were guys you're pretty good too, right?
No, but their third, like just say like their third line was like guys that have played 1 year of hockey. We had like
on your hockey team.
Yeah, we had like a few kids from Japan come. We had an Australian guy.
Get your hands away from your neck. You back right off.
Yeah. But we had like some guys from California. But it was great for me because I was on the ice every single day.
Yeah.
And then I got to play on so I played with the midget team, and then I got to play with the junior B team. It was perfect. It was really good for me. Yeah.
Okay. So you were found there for the Spokane Chiefs?
No, I got drafted the year before to Spokane.
Before you went out there?
Before I went to Banff.
From your hometown you did?
Yes. Yeah. It's kind of it's a super long story, but I ended up making a under 16 team.
I had a nap before we started at 10:30 tonight, so I'm fresh. So if it's a long story, whatever. I've already had a nap tonight.
Yeah. At that point in my life, I knew nothing about. I didn't know anything about junior hockey. I didn't know anything about WHL.
You're like, I was so like naive when I got to pro and everything. Like, so you went right from all this to like right to the NHL too.
I went, yeah, from there. I went
Sorry,
to
go. No, I
yeah,
know. There's a
yeah,
lot of stops in between, but like when you first get to pro, like you're in the NHL your rookie year, that must have been a lot
it
for.
was,
Anyways,
yeah. I didn't know it. I didn't know it at the time, right?
I'm getting sidetracked. Okay, sorry, Spokane. Yeah, you were
Yeah,
there for parts of 5 seasons though, so you basically kind of grew up there, right? Like a
I
lot of
did.
your, what's it called, adolescence? Is that what
Yeah,
word it
yeah.
is?
Like, you know, it was, you know, you think about it, right? And I had Mike Babcock was my coach there.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, when I was 15, 16. And then Bill
So I
Peters.
always hear. Okay, so that's the next coach.
Yeah, yeah. He
Aren't
was the
they?
assistant. He was the assistant to Babs, and then he was the assistant the next year when Babs left. And then yeah, it was awesome. Like, great. They were
But
awesome.
and they're good hockey minds, right? Like they're smart
Mhm.
guys, and like look at their careers from there, right?
For sure. Yeah, and they were good. And I actually saw Mike Babcock in November and had a quick chat with him. He hadn't changed a bit. He's coaching at the University of Saskatchewan now, and yeah, it was good for me because they were hard and they were hard coaches. I played for Brent Sutter in Red Deer, one of the Sutter brothers. But to me, it was like they were hard on you, but it was because they cared, and they
They're
could be as
trying to
hard.
get the best out of you by being
Yeah,
hard on you.
yeah. And you're a 16, 17-year-old kid. You're 18, 19 years old, and you have parents at home who are wondering how you're doing, how are you doing in school, how are you doing, just day to day, how are you growing up, and Babs for sure was the kind of guy, and same thing with Brent Sutter was, if your parents were in town, he would make sure to go talk to them,
And
right?
that, yeah,
And
yep.
that goes a long way as a parent, right? And I know if I ever had a son that was playing, that's what I
You
would be
would
worried
want,
about. Mhm.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's how they were, and that was kind of, I think, was a good thing for me. Built a good foundation as to like how, you know, as to how I knew that maybe I could move on in hockey, and also, um, how I respected those guys because they were always good to me, and I played for Bill Peters in Rockford again, back in 2010 or 11 or whenever it was, and yeah, he was great. They were always good to me, so no complaints.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, so those teams didn't like win anything. So for both of those coaches to like move on to like the NHL, usually
Mhm.
coaches that like win stuff move on, right? So they must have been doing something.
Yeah, well, Babs, yeah, we lost in the finals the year he left, and then Bill Peters, he did win the Memorial Cup in 2008,
Oh, there
right?
you go. So is that right? That's after you then.
Yeah, it was after me, but then he went.
2008.
But then he went to Detroit with Babcock after that, and then he came to be the head coach in Rockford and Chicago's farm team. So
Okay. There's always a connection, right? That's why I was
totally,
curious.
yeah, yeah, there is.
When I see you in Glasgow, and then I see Mizey, and then I see you guys played together in the AHL, I'm like, oh, there's some kind of connection here. I'm just trying
Mhm.
to, it's not, the research team gets hot and it's always trying to
Yeah,
put the puzzle together, but you
yeah, oh, yeah.
never do know what the real puzzle
Mhm.
is. But there's
No,
always a connection. You're
for
always
sure.
signed somewhere for some reason. It's like when
Yeah.
I was signed in Cardiff, it was because when Andrew Lord was researching teams to go in Germany, he watched a game of me play in Germany. And then after he saw that video, he wanted me to play it. Then I played against him in Germany. He was like, okay, he's pretty good. That's the connection. There's always a
That's it.
connection.
Yeah,
There's always a
for sure.
reason, right?
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
don't just sign some random dude for no reason.
Yeah, no,
I guess
exactly. There's
back in the day you
always,
did.
yeah, but no, there's always there's a reason people get where they are, right?
Yeah. And it's always something to do with a
Hmm.
connection. There's a
Exactly.
connection.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, I'm getting sidetracked again. So those are two good coaches to learn hockey from, though. Like when it
Hmm.
comes to like being a hockey brains and like, man, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then you got traded though.
Yeah.
After you grow up there, you've been there for like 4 years. You're obviously like been there forever. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was. Yeah, it was.
did you
I
know
had
it
a.
was coming?
No, not at all. I had a shoulder surgery in the off season in Chicago after I'd been drafted by them. And then once I got healthy enough to play, I'd signed with Chicago, and while I was still injured. And then by the time I started playing again, I guess when I was 18 years old, I was super, like, I was kind of inconsistent. I had a good year offensively, but I was pretty inconsistent. And so when I signed with Chicago, Brian Sutter was in Chicago, and Brent obviously was the owner and the general manager and the head coach in Red Deer. So well, like, kind of hockey aside, they needed a forward at the time, and Spokane needed a defenseman. Okay. And so, but when I got to Red Deer, Brent said to me, we need, like, Chicago wants to keep a better eye on you for, like, to get you more consistent kind of thing. Right. So it's better for them to for me to be there. But I remember after practice, I don't know what we were doing. We were fucking around and we were stretching, and then the coach comes on, head coach comes on the ice, and he's like, there's a meeting in the dressing room. And stupid me, and I'm like, I was only like 19 years old, right? I'm like, oh fuck, somebody's getting traded. And so we go into the dressing room, and then the coach comes and grabs me. He's like, Matt, go to the GM's office. So I went in there, and he's like, it was Tim Speltz, who was amazing. And he's like, I got bad news. And he was actually in tears, which, and he's like, we traded you today. And I'm like, so obviously I start crying like a little baby. And he's like, well, we traded you Red Deer. He's like, do you know anybody in Red Deer? And I'm like, yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm good friends with Doug Lynch, so at least that's good. And he's like, actually, we traded you for Doug Lynch.
So you got traded for your buddy.
Yeah. But it just worked out. They needed a defenseman, and we Red Deer needed a forward, and it was awesome. You're young, right? You don't really realize at the time, and you think the world's ending, but it was all.
When you
good.
say you cried like a baby, like, the thing is like, that shit happens when you're 36 playing hockey. That shit happens when you're 10 years old playing hockey. Sure. If you care about something, if you're passionate about it, and then things happen, like, you can get emotional. It's okay. Right.
Oh, for sure. Oh yeah. No, and it was good. It was a good place for me to be, because Red Deer's, like, it was awesome. We had a really good team, and it was a good place to play. But
we'll get into that now, because you had quite the squad. And I think Sam Jardine was a big fan. He was just on, and he talked about some of these guys. You had Wojciech, Massey, Marjamaki, former Cardiff Devil, Dion Phaneuf, Cam Ward.
Yeah.
Huh.
Colin Fraser, Boyd Gordon, like, these are guys all played like a long time in the NHL.
I remember when that team was assembled, and everybody was like, look at these Sutters just doing whatever they want with junior hockey. And I was like, how are they doing this?
Yeah, I know. It was crazy. We had a really good team, but he was awesome. He was hard on us. But
so you had quite the group of coaches through junior hockey, eh?
I did. Yeah, I did. But again, it was nothing bad. It was just normal, like back in the day when we were growing up. And it wasn't like, I think things have just changed now, right? Like, you can't, I guess, in the way the culture is. Even when I go to work now, I can ask a captain, and the way he got treated 25 years ago compared to how
it's different
to treat, it's different, right? And it doesn't mean that every coach back in the day was, because they were hard on people, doesn't mean it was wrong. It was just, you might not be able to do that, but we it was the way you learned, and it was awesome. Some good coaches.
So that Red Deer team, what did you guys do? Did you win it?
No, we were first in Canada. We were ranked number 1 in Canada until like the last week of the season. Kelowna passed us in the last week, and then we ended up losing to them in the finals, and then that was it.
You lost in the finals, and then you don't get to go to the Memorial Cup.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, that sucks. But so then after that, so that's one thing I wanted to bring up. my brain goes all over the place and then I get sidetracked. But you're talking about signing with Chicago, and you're still playing junior hockey, right? I'm an NCAA player. When we sign a contract, you're done school, you got to leave, you're out of there. Like, it's so different that you guys can sign a contract and then play a whole nother year for a different team and get injured or do whatever, right?
Yeah. No, it is. I think when I signed that the year that I got drafted was Tuomo Ruutu was the first round pick with Chicago. And when they signed me, I'd been in Chicago all summer doing like my rehab for my shoulder. I went to training camp, but it was just kind of like a spare piece. I would do my rehab. I'd go on the ice and skate when the players weren't there. And then I went back to Spokane before I was starting to play. That's when they offered me a contract, and my agent said, well, this is kind of what they're offering. You can either take it or you can hope you play really well and then maybe you can get more money. Right. And I just said, no, I'm good. Like, I'd rather take, it was a really good contract. I was really happy with it. And I was like, I'd rather just take it so you don't have to worry about it. Right. Well, now you're playing. And when I got traded to Red Deer, I think there's like 5 or 6 guys in the team that had signed contracts. So there's a group of us, but it was like,
but then you're showing up to practice in the WHL with like a nice vehicle, and the rest of the team is showing up like with a ride from their billet.
Yeah, exactly.
It's such a weird dynamic, right? Like
it is super weird. Yeah, it is super weird, but it's but I don't ever get the sense that like there was any animosity. It was kind of like more like
it's just the way it is, right? Like that's.
It was super weird though, because you're basically.
I've never talked to anybody about this in the shed. I just find it weird because at the NCAA, you're all together. You're all a team. You're all in it. You're just on a scholarship, or maybe you're not, but you're on the same team. And then if you sign a contract, you are gone. You don't sign a contract, show up with a nice vehicle, and still show up to practice, right? Okay. Anyways, moving on. So you had already signed. I want to know when you're drafted, just curious thoughts here, is you hurt your shoulder. Is that before or after the draft?
Both. I had a surgery my draft year, and then I got it fixed.
You had a shoulder surgery your draft year in what, second round?
So I played the first.
Did you have a mustache at that age too?
This is the only time I've ever had a mustache, but this is the first time in my life I've ever had one.
I don't think so. I think there's one on the poster too.
Yeah, no, it's the same one. This has been going for 4 months.
Okay. I didn't know if you were always a mustache guy.
No, never.
Okay.
Never. No, I
So what spurred on the mustache?
I don't know. I got our house. We got COVID at the end of December, and I just didn't shave because usually I have to shave for work all the time, right? And didn't shave, and then I'm like, fuck it, I'm just gonna keep it going. And then I keep telling my wife, I'm like, I'm gonna shave it. Like I can't.
So does she like it? Does she like it?
I'm like, I just told her the other day, I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm shaving my mustache. She's like, why? I'm like, because it looks stupid. She's like, okay, well, does everybody with a mustache look stupid? And I said, well, no.
It sounds like she likes it. Sounds like she's into it.
She does like it. And then we're going to Mexico in June, and she's like, there's a hat I tried on because we're kind of getting our stuff ready to go, right? And she's like, oh, that would look really good with your mustache. And I'm like, oh, I guess
she likes the mustache. Yeah,
I guess
you're a mustache guy now, eh?
Yeah, I guess in 2 months I'll still have it. So yeah.
Huh? Who knew?
Yeah.
I was starting to think you were a mustache guy, like when you're at a really young age, and like it's like, look at this big, powerful guy with a mustache. Even if he has a shoulder surgery, he's still fine.
Yeah. No, I had that surgery. I played the first 15 or 16 games of the year, and I was a point a game. And then I hurt my shoulder again. I hurt it right at the start of the year.
At 15, 16 years old, like your first year, like you're
the first, like I was 17, but so my first 16 games, I was a point a game. And then I went pointless the next 5. And then my agent called me and he said, "Hey, listen," he's like, "You got to get your shoulder fixed."
Get
Like,
your
we're just
hand away from your neck right now.
Sorry.
You back away from that neck.
You know, he's like, he just said, he's like, "You got to get it fixed or else," because I wasn't playing the way that I needed to play.
Yeah,
To
well,
get drafted, right?
you start playing hurt. That's no
Exactly.
way.
Yeah.
There's no way to
Yeah.
excel playing hurt.
Yeah. So I had a surgery. I was out for 3 months, and I came back for the playoffs, and then I got drafted a little bit higher than I thought I actually didn't think I would ever get drafted, but went a little bit higher, and then I played the next year.
Did you know you were going to get drafted? Like,
no,
really?
No. I kind of got the sense, like, during the season, because the rankings would come out, that maybe there was a chance, but it wasn't. I don't know. I grew up in a small town. It wasn't something I ever really.
I know.
I always dreamed about playing in the NHL, but never the steps that you had to take to get there, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, no, and you were taking those steps really fast, because like when I'm looking at it, like we're the same age, we're both 83s, and like you were playing in the NHL like my sophomore year, and I was just like figuring shit out, like trying not to wet the bed, you know. Oh shit. Yeah.
That's funny.
Okay. Anyways, moving on then. So then your Red Deer run, that sucks. You guys didn't win, but your rookie year, that's your NHL game. You're getting called up. But like, so what's your first camp like? Are you going to camps the whole time? You got the shoulder surgery. You're part of the organization. So for me, I know I don't like to bring up my own shit that often, but like, I had never been around an NHL camp. I had never been around NHL players. I'd never seen anything. I'd never been around I'm from a small town. I don't know anything about nothing. I don't think I'll ever be near it. And when you're finally around it and you start getting comfortable, it helps, right? And like, I had never been around it until I was in an NHL training camp. And I couldn't believe it. I like walked in the room. I'm like, oh my God, like these are the guys I see on TV.
Yeah, totally. And that 1 year that I had back then, Chicago didn't used to take anybody who didn't have a chance to play for them. They wouldn't take them to training camp. So like, if you're
they'd only take the guys that like really
they would take their first rounders, but they wouldn't take, if they knew I was going back to junior, they wouldn't take me to camp. Right.
And you got to see those guys. You got to be around it. You got to.
So I got to go just because I wasn't playing anyway. So like, oh, come to Chicago. So I went, and I'll never forget like some of the stories, or some of the people like you're just around, and you're just like, listen, because you're just in the dressing room listening to things, right?
Yeah.
And and it was great. Like it was such a cool thing for me to kind of, be around it, and to kind of see all these guys, like you said, that you're on TV, and they had a split squad. So like they took half the team went on the road, and the other half the team was staying in Chicago. And Dennis Savard was the assistant coach at the time, and he said, hey, because I was only skating on my own, doing like my rehab, and he said, hey, come on the ice with me for practice. You can be my kind of like, you like my puck pusher kind of thing, right? And here I am out on the ice with these guys, and it's like, Phil Housley and Lyle Odeline and Theo Fleury and these guys, and just like it's insane, right? But it was good for me to kind of be there, and to kind of you get to realize that, oh, I can play here. Even though I was just practicing and stuff, you're like, oh, I can do it.
Right? Well, and that's, I think that was one of my biggest issues, was like, I didn't actually believe I was even supposed to be there. Like I would go out to the main rink out in Columbus and see the real players, and I'd be like, oh, those are the real players. I'll go back with the draft picks now. Like until you're around it, and like you're like, well, they're asking me to be here for a reason,
Well, exactly. And then you also get to realize that they're real people too, right?
They fart just like us, and they shit on toilets just like us, and it's like, so they came from just two people too, that
Yeah, no, totally. And they were all good to me.
I didn't even figure that shit out till I was like in my 30s.
Yeah, exactly. I said, I mean, looking back now, like, I mean, that was half my life ago, right? That was when I was 19, 20 years old. Like, um, it goes by pretty quick, right?
Holy
You
shit.
don't realize it, but yeah, all that stuff happens pretty quick, and you don't maybe soak it in at the time, but yeah, it's
Well,
pretty cool
it's
stuff
hard
to
to
talk about
soak.
now or think about.
It's hard to soak things in back when you're doing them, right? Like
Exactly, for
it's
sure.
like living in Europe. You're like, you don't soak in any of that shit
Totally.
until, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Till now, I'm kind of like I like, even at work now, I like I don't like talking about my hockey. I like talking about hockey with people. Like, I'm a big fan. Like, I love the Canucks. I'm like a big fan of hockey, but don't
Are you
necessarily like. Yeah, I don't necessarily like. Yeah, don't roll your eyes. Love the Canucks.
really? I just,
Yeah,
I'm not that into the NHL. Like,
yeah.
um,
Oh,
I like, I would rather watch my friends play and catch up with
right.
that. And
For
like, I,
sure. Yeah, yeah. No,
yeah.
for sure. Like,
I'm
I
not
do
rolling
like.
your eyes. I don't give a shit who wins the NHL. I don't actually
No,
care.
I like following, like the NHL and stuff, but I like to talk about it but not necessarily like, I don't like talking about my career.
I
But
know.
now talking to you about it, you're kind of like, oh yeah, you're thinking about stuff. You're like, yeah, man, I was only 19 years old back then. That's crazy.
I know. And I don't I never talked about my stuff ever. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it took coming out here and talking to guys in the shed to like during the day I'll get more than one message about hockey. And like
Mm-hmm.
there was 5 years of my life after hockey that I came home and I would like I'd get really pumped if a guy texted me from my hockey life
Yeah.
about whatever. And I'd be like,
Mm-hmm.
holy shit, like, we're all still doing our own thing, but like he
Yeah,
thought to text me today. And
for
it's like
sure.
now that shit's happening way more. And it's because I came out
Mm-hmm.
here
Mm-hmm.
and started talking hockey again.
Yeah. Oh, totally, totally. It's such a cool thing. I think it's even even for fans, right? Like the people, like, I know in Glasgow, I'm sure it's the exact same Cardiff, and there's people you could meet, some fans you could meet. It's like a lifelong. Some of those people support the team, and you get a real connection with the players, and the players get connections with the fans, and it's like
But they
you
don't
feel like
really know you, right? Like they don't
right,
know you. And then
right.
when they'll hear us chit chat tonight and it's just us shooting the shit,
It's just yeah,
they'll like
yeah.
it. But the thing is like us hockey guys that did all that shit, like you played in the NHL. We've hardly
Mm-hmm.
got to that yet. And
Mm-hmm.
like you did what I see all these kids aspiring to do. Like my hockey team, they're all trying to make
Mm-hmm.
the NHL. You actually did that.
Mm-hmm.
And you're in my shed right now. But like you get home and you don't talk about it. Like hockey's over and you just go to work every day. And then
For
it's
sure.
like they
Yeah.
like I've talked to numerous guys where you can just feel like the passion, like they miss talking about
Mm-hmm.
this part of their
Mm-hmm.
life. And
For
I miss
sure.
it too.
Well, and this is a good place to talk about it, right? But there's also, I guess maybe that thing that we all grew up with in hockey is it's like you you don't care where somebody played before. The
Yeah.
point is the point is
You're
we're all
all
here
there
now.
at the same
We're all
time.
here now, and it's like, why would I go to work? Like, hey, you can talk about what you did before you got onto your job or whatever. It's like,
Nobody
why
gives a
is
shit.
what I did any different than somebody who delivered beer or or had a construction company or did, and it doesn't matter. Like,
It's just another job.
we're all interested in each other's things. It's a cool thing. Super cool.
No, I agree. I totally agree. I just find it interesting with hockey guys' lives that like we have kids all over the place, we live all over the place, we move our lives all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently people will listen to us shoot the shit,
Right.
right?
Right.
Do you have your hand up? Did you mean to do that?
Yeah.
Are you with like the
Time
under
out.
are you
No,
with
take
like
a
the
time.
under 11s? Do you got to piss?
Yeah.
Me too. Okay, let's
Okay.
do it.
Then